So this year, I turned 50. Lots of strange things happen when you're 50. You think you get off the floor like this, but in reality, this is how you get off the floor when you're 50. So Jack Nicholson said some famous words in the movie The Bucket List. Now, as you read on, let me just make it clear that I don't suffer from any of these. But I know some that do. There was also some other issues around the time of my birthday which were kind of disturbing. So let me tell you what. First and foremost, James Bond died. I mean, James Bond can't die. James Bond never dies. But he did, so I had to cope with that. Okay, so I accepted James Bond can die. And then Superman suddenly was in the process of discovering himself, and this was officially declared by DC Comics. Okay, Mr. Clark, whatever turns you on, I'm a fan of Deadpool anyway. But the one that made for interesting conversation at the dinner table was this one, as you can see from my daughter's reaction.
Are you serious?
So I decided to confront the situation by going for a very long bike ride. Just joking, guys, I mean, just having a little bit of fun. Thought I would put an unusual start to the old video blog. But in reality, the ride was already planned. I've been doing it for some months now, and the plan was to ride 2 bikes in 2 different directions in the world and spend 2 years doing it. There's a separate video blog that I may have to do to explain the choice of bikes, but in a nutshell, I went for the older bikes, easily fixed by the roadside with a bit of sticky tape and chewing gum and a cocktail stick. And the choice was an Africa Twin RD07 2002 to go around the belly of the earth, and a 2003 KTM 640 to start from South Africa heading generally northwards. So D-1 day on the road tomorrow. First journey sectors to Czechoslovakia. So like most things, a bit over budget and very late. So time now to do a nut and bolt check and get the bike ready for tomorrow. With nobody else other than my wee boy, JJ.
Hi.
Well, it's night before the day of the ride, and I can tell you it's probably been the most disorganized I've ever been for any ride. It's pissing it outside. The bike's in the garden with a plastic cover over it, and my son assures me that it's all watertight.
Okay, first of all, I want to say good luck on the trip for Dad. Captain America. So I wish you all the luck on your trip, Dad. Hope you have a safe trip and get as much riding as you can done. And I hope you
Stay warm.
Good luck. stay warm, and I hope you have good luck with everything going on in the trip.
Thank you.
Right, Dad's off tomorrow. Wish you very good luck and have fun. That's the important thing.
Okay, yet another adventure for the hero. So just to wish you a lot of safety, a lot of fun, a bit of warmth hopefully now and again.
Yep, 2 members of the family.
Saiba and Alfie.
Alfinder Singh, also known as Alfie. Alfie, wish me well. And the other one is at university. She doesn't even know I'm going. So here we are, 7:30 in the morning, and a bit of a disaster. Nothing too dramatic, not a train smash, but rookie mistake. I should have really checked the covers myself instead of relied on JJ. Poor boy, at the age of 12. The cars got blown off and the bike's wet. The stuff is wet. And the other panel that I've just taken off is full of water. But before I show you the actual clip of leaving home, I want to just share a few thoughts. So we have all these big ideas that when we start our Around the World ride, the TV crew will be here, the village will be out here to clap us over, and the whole family will be over. There'll be banners, there'll be balloons. Well, the harsh reality is that my wife kind of got up in time to make me a cup of tea, and my son stumbled out of bed looking like Bob Marley with his hair, and managed to mumble a few words, but it didn't matter. I was at the top of the world, a little bit teary, a little bit overwhelmed. I knew in the back of my mind I wanted to come back in a week's time and celebrate my wedding anniversary with my wife, but ahead of me lay a very exciting journey. But first, a new SD card because it fails now. It's about 200 miles in, about 90 miles to go to Hull. Interesting. Damn cold, wet. Cold, wet, cold. A few sort of glimmers of sunshine, which were worth it, but very few. Lots of time to have a good time. So here I am, just on the outskirts of Hull. My first stop of the day is with a dear old friend of mine, Afil Jamali. Hi. So I scratched a free SD card off Jamali and also swiped some chapos off the lunch table. I was going to do this like in the uni days. Free food, always there in a flash. Bike's running okay. A few niggling issues. Kind of lost my Scott oiler system. For some strange reason, this bag here is smelling of urine, and I'm pretty certain I didn't piss into it. I think actually the plastic was decomposing. Otherwise, doing okay. Isn't that so zen? So arrived in Windhoek and stayed with Tanya and her family. And from Windhoek is when the real food and drink experience started. Now, Germany for me is food and drink heaven. It's not for everyone, but I'm going to now show you what I enjoyed during my time here. So finally around midday, approaching Landau, is when the skies opened up. Now it was important to pass by Landau because Landau is a wee place very close to the French border, and it's famous for its vineyards, the second biggest area in Germany for growing wine. Now, I was keen to try one of their special fairs. On the hunt for Wiederweisen, apparently a seasonal wine that only appears in Landau area around this time. Bloody elusive though, this Wiederhausen, I should say, eaten or drunk with onion cake. So it's got to be bloody worth it. So, we found the elusive Fieberhausen and Zwiebelkuchen. I think I got that right. Just to be clear, that I did not drink any of that while I was motorbiking. I took a bottle with me to share with the Ditmars where I was going next. But up until now, I'm still struggling to say Wiederweisen and Zwiebelkuchen. I think that's the best. Hey, actually that worked. I can say it. Coffee time at a service station on the A8 on the way to Munich, seeing Dietmar and family, hopefully, God willing, fairly soon. I can't even be asked to park the bike. I'm just going to drink coffee, having paid for the fuel. Enjoying it, actually. And I'm trying to get there before it gets too dark, because with the dark comes the cold. Normally, that's usually what happens anywhere in the world. Germany too.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
Watch this, guys. The ultimate welcome at the house.
Yes. I look for your cold beer.
I would.
A hot tea.
No. Cold beer, hot shower. So, guys, gals, meet the houses. Back in 2020, just before the COVID pandemic hit, I was riding up from South Africa to Kenya through Namibia with Czechia, and we came across the houses in Sossusvlei. Now you got to remember, this is day 5. I haven't had my curry fix, the shakes have started, and in the heat of climbing the dunes I meet a German guy called Dietmar, who looks at me and starts talking about chicken tikka masala and kebabs and naan. And I swear I could have eaten him. I could have kebabbed him right there. So instead of kebabbing him, a friendship grew, and they were traveling generally northwards, so were we. But before that, we had some fun. We did some dune bashing on quad bikes, some sand surfing, and then, coincidentally, or maybe it was planned or destiny planned it, we met in Swakopmund in a German hotel, where by that time, because he put the idea in my head, I now had a sufuria and masalas that I managed to find, and we made a massive curry in a very posh German hotel, and I'm pretty certain it still stinks in their model kitchen. Good times were had between us and them, and a friendship grew, which is why I went to visit them, and which is why they'll be visiting Kenya.
As soon as possible again, maybe at Christmas.
Dachau. Big decision whether I go to the Nazi concentration camp. But I had been there before. I was there with Anita many years ago, and it's a bit of a tough emotional experience. So I have been to Dachau before, and yes, it was a very tough and a very emotional experience. I chose not to go to it this time around. And as much as the ride is all about fun and having fun, it's also about reflection. And this was one of the things I reflected hard about. The atrocities of mankind and how since the Second World War, we've continued to have atrocities, whether it's Rwanda and the Middle East. And it's times like this that you think that humans are just the worst animals out there. I mean, alongside global warming and climate change and all of that, we're just not pleasant, are we? And there are certain epicenters I've also realized. where we become hustlers, we become cheaters, we become thieves, and then we justify it by trying to pretend that we're good people and religious, but just a big ego defense game that we play with ourselves. So, arrived at Lake Chiemsee, big lake in Bavaria. I was really keen to see this place because on one of the islands is an unfinished castle built by Ludwig II. The charismatic chap liked his opera and spent vast amounts of money building really grand castles. So the one on Chiemsee is called Herren Chiemsee. Please feel free to laugh at my German. Wait till you hear the next one. The big dramatic one is near Füssen, near the Austrian border down south, called... God, I can't say it. I'm going to have to practice this one. Neuschwanstein.
Please hang up and try again.
Well, the skies are getting a bit pregnant, so to speak, and it's blowing a breeze for sure. So let's see if these guys are open and they're taking passengers. It turns out that the blowing a gale. You can see how bad it is. It probably doesn't look that bad. But see the sharp cloud. Time to make a decision. So the gale force winds are in a southwesterly direction, gusting up to about 1900 kilometers an hour. Those mountains there are on the south side. Which is in that direction, is on this side of the mountains. So I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to go around the lake, and at some point I'm going to skirt around the mountains and onto Salzburg on the smaller roads. So it actually doesn't matter where in the world you are and whatever foods you eat. There is no better joy than coming to masala and roti with tons of butter and saag and dal. And these guys are responsible for my masala fix, which I desperately needed. I was starting to shake on the bike. And it wasn't the cold, it was actually withdrawal symptoms. So I'm going to switch off now and enjoy the food. I thought I had a decent collection of classic cars until I arrived at this bar in Salzburg, owned by the chap who owns Red Bull. And this is his collection, Hangar 7 by the airport in Salzburg. Red sky at night, shepherd's delight. Red sky in the morning, shepherd's warning. Let's see what today brings.
Only 40 kilometers outside Salzburg, and what started off as a great day is now a bloody awful pissing it down. And for the first time in this trip, I felt that winter's approaching. It's bitterly cold, but not the autumn cold. It's that biting cold that goes straight into your bones. It's pissing it down. I'm in the standing water on the roads, and I'm not on a motorway going up to Czechoslovakia. Instead, I'm taking country roads that are taking me through small villages, quite pleasant, but it's going to be slow going, and about 200 more kilometers to go to a town just inside the border. Let's see how it goes. Next is a fuel stop. Pole pole.
So, this is what the Austrian countryside looks like. I'm about 50 miles away from Czechoslovakia destination. I decided to take a wee break. The sun's shining. The bones are a bit cold, so the idea is to get some heat into them. The bike's doing well, burbling away. She's a real beauty. Not bad for something 19 years old. This morning was a bit tough. I could have enjoyed it more if the weather was great, but hey, you know, you take the good and the bad together. So, planning to get into the hotel in Czechoslovakia, which is where apparently Budweiser comes from.
A friend from me. Yes, the same. 100,000 kilometer.
Yeah,
no problem.
no problem.
No problem.
I used to have BMW 1200 GS. I said no, forget it.
Yeah.
This,
The best.
the best. most definitely the find of the day. The guys were kind enough to accommodate me, even though I didn't have a reservation. So I got a side table that I used to keep ketchup and vinegar. Microbrewery and beer labelled as 10, 11 or 12. That's it. As simple as that. Fantastic. Coming to the last day now of what is a 2,000 kilometer ride. I'm going to tell you what I'm riding. There's a separate session on perhaps why I chose this bike, and that's an interesting one, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about the mods that this one has, which makes it ideal for what I'm planning around the belly of the earth. So I must firstly say that most of these mods were on the bike when I got them. This is an interesting mod. Essentially a front rack. You don't see them often, but rugged roads do them, and quite ideal for your camping bag and your tent. Put some weight on the front wheel. Some running lights, LED spots, absolutely essential, I reckon. Running off a separate switch altogether. The side crash bars. A platform for tank bags. So these are aftermarket. What also is aftermarket and has sorted some of the gremlins of the Africa Twin RD07A is a solid state facet pump that replaces the one that they had. There's a beautiful Adventure Nitron shock here with a remote reservoir. What else do we have? A Scott oiler system. You can see a bit of the tubing going through. I've tie wrapped it off. I must admit the Scott oiler failed on me. I don't think because it's its fault. I kind of dicked around with it. Would I have another one? I think I will actually. I think these things are worth it. They now have electric ones running off batteries. I'm going to have to research that as well. Big discussion whether hard or soft on the panniers. Well, this bike's predominantly going to do on-road touring, and I quite like these retro Zega Touratech panniers. The other bike that I'm coming from south to north will have a lot of off-road. That's the KTM 640, and that's got soft panniers. A 2-litre fuel cell. 2 litres, you might think, what's the point? But actually part of the reason I did this ride was to figure out what my MPH is. What do I get? How heavy is my hand? And it appears that I get about 21 kilometers to a litre. So this can see me about 40 kilometers. So my total range, including this, is not far off 500. A toolbox, which actually doesn't fit my tools, but I've got it for all my repair stuff. I've got a Remus exhaust for the burble and the noise, and when you rev hard enough, it's as effective as the hooter. Water bottles, never use them, but they look good. What else do we have? Yeah, the dash. I put on, we have this cruise control, very simple, works on a friction lock. A complete and utter lifesaver. You need it anywhere in Europe. Heated grips. Oh, and those chilly rides in the biting icy wind, they're really worth it. The other thing that I invested in, and I totally believe in this now, is basically a tail trek temperature monitor. Now this one doesn't run off the water pipe, it actually runs, if you can see that, runs by inserting a copper probe into the fins. Again, absolute temperatures really not necessary, but extremely useful when you see trends. And I now know that my fan kicks in at 94 degrees. The other reason I needed this is just as a backup. I don't have a fuel gauge, and neither is there a fuel warning on this bike, so keeps me alert doing my method athletics about when I need to refuel. I also invested in a tire pressure monitor. This one's made by Michelin, costs about 70 quid. Sits on a magnetic base. Looks flimsy, but actually it's done pretty well, although I am going to go and modify it and make it more secure. Cigarette lighter USB, actually cigarette lighter because it's more universal in some of the remote areas. I am going to add another one here. The other reason is that I can put my cigarette lighter voltmeter on to see how much voltage I have. There's braided hoses, which are an aftermarket. This is basically an air bleeding nipple on the forks that equalizes the pressure on both sides of the forks, as and when you need it. The old spotlight, I'm quite pleased about that. I managed to wire that myself. Yeah, I think that's about really the bulk of everything. Worth mentioning this tank bag. I ended up researching tank bags for months. Those that costed £200, £300. Actually ended up settling for this one. It cost only 30 bucks. It expands to 23 litres. It's got an expansion zip at the bottom. It's water resistant. There's a waterproof bag in it. And it's just the right size. It converts to a rucksack. It's strap. You take the top two clips off and flip it over, and you have access to your tank for fueling. Touratech seat, shaved 2 inches off this, and now I know that my ass starts to hurt at about 150 kilometers. So not bad, not bad. I think in a nutshell, that's about all. She's behaved herself like any old bike. She does leak a bit of oil, not much. I think it's probably the plug, which I'm going to go sort out. That's all folk for the moment. Off to go and see the Budweiser Visitor Centre. For obvious reasons I can't partake. Other mods. Okay, so I have, I don't know if you can see it in there, but I've routed an SAE cable. So I have power available anytime, mostly for the tire pump. I am going to have to add another USB cable there for my insulin, to keep my insulin cool. Somebody asked me what the hell is that contraption. Well, actually that was a bit of a boo-boo. I had initially put the phone underneath this, but realized very quickly that the condensation gets to it when it rains. So I had to take off my GoPro and modify it so I could put my phone here while navigating. The whole debate about GPS for GPS and phones for phones, I totally believe in that. So the ride I'm planning to do in South Africa, for example, will have its own GPS. Here in Europe, it's a little bit kinder. And you can argue, you know, you can get away with it. And that's what I did. So the journey ends 2,050 kilometers later in Jihlava, about 100 plus kilometers east of Prague. This rather impressive facility called Jeepokar, a transporter business owned by, I think, Martin Prokop, who is one of the WRC drivers. And this is where the chariot is going to be left and maybe have some work done on her while I'm away. She's served me well. Good work, baby. Here she is, and this is going to be her home for the next several months at Jeepokar in Czech Republic. A rather impressive facility, and these guys are on the way to the Paris-Dakar. As the bike's being stowed, thanks a lot to Quirin at Jeepokar's team, Martin Prokop. Very impressive facility, yeah. I thought I was doing well with my little wee garage in Scotland until I saw this outfit. So as we speak, they're preparing for the Paris-Dakar. That's their Dakar support truck. This is one of the other rally support trucks. This is the baby that had a crash in Kenya, where his co-driver injured himself. Managed to strip the car down. And here's a selection of other stuff that they have. There's a WRC car underneath that. This is the life, matey. This is the life. I might go and see them in Abu Dhabi or in Saudi Arabia.
So that was the end of it. It came on quickly, it came on emotionally, but it was a huge amount of fun. Quirin dropped me off in Prague, thankfully, and it was good to see how quickly you can make 120 kilometers in about an hour or less, rather than like 4 or 5 days on the Africa Twin. 4 or 5 hours, sorry. Had a night out with a family friend in Prague, and then kind of smuggled myself onto the Ryanair flight. Discovered that if I bought a whole roll of cling film, I can bind everything together and call it one suitcase. Then got home to more wet weather. I think I'm going to call myself the rainmaker, because wherever I go, it seems to be just wet and
So I'm
miserable.
back home. And look at how. Yeah, no, I didn't get a chance. But look at this. This is the best. This is the most full I've ever seen it.
Aye. Well,
It is.
actually, it's just about the same, a wee bit less than it was the other week, yeah.
And this is the face I came back to.
It won't get there.
Something to hurt you.